When the temperature outside drops to 20 degrees Celsius, a strange thing happens to your home. It stops being a shelter, stops being a safe haven, and begins transforming into something far more dangerous. A slow, silent freezer. The kind of freezer that doesn't chill meat, it chills people. And once the power goes out, once the furnace shuts down, once the lights die, your house becomes a giant icebox pretending to protect you while it actually drains the warmth from your bones. Most people freeze not because winter defeats them, but because they make the fatal mistake of trying to heat an entire house in a blackout at 20 degrees Celsius. That isn't just unrealistic, it's lethal. You are not fighting the weather anymore. You are fighting physics itself. But don't worry. Today you're going to learn something most people never think about. You're going to build a heatless survival shelter inside your own home, a structure that can keep you alive even when the temperature falls low enough to freeze steel, even when the world outside stops caring whether you survive the night. This is not a prepper fantasy. You don't need solar panels or generators or $1,000 gear. What you need is science, urgency, and whatever scraps you have lying around the house. Because in extreme cold, survival is not about heating the air. It's about trapping the heat you already have. The first step, and this is where people fail immediately, is choosing the right room. When the power goes out, when the furnace falls silent, you don't have a house anymore. What you have is a series of heat traps and heat sinks. Large rooms are heat sinks. They swallow warmth like a bottomless pit. Small rooms are your only chance at survival. A bathroom, a pantry, a closet, a small windowless bedroom. These tiny spaces are your lifeboats in a frozen ocean. The goal is simple but brutally important. Reduce the space your body heat has to warm. If you try to heat the living room or the dining area or, God forbid, the whole house, the cold wins instantly. Your body is a small furnace. Your room must be small enough for that furnace to matter. Once you pick the room, you move to the next stage, sealing it like your life depends on it. Because it does. At 20 degrees Celsius, cold doesn't enter your room politely, it attacks. It crawls through cracks, slides under doors, leaks through window frames, and spreads across floors. You cannot let the enemy in. Towels, blankets, duct tape, clothing, garbage bags. Every household has these things. They are your insulation. Stuff towels under the door. Tape plastic bags or sheets over the windows. Hang blankets along the walls. Use curtains, rugs, carpets, or anything thick to block airflow. Cold moves like a predator searching for gaps. Your job is to deny it every entry point. You're not trying to make the room airtight. That's impossible and unsafe. You're trying to slow the cold to a crawl. Every crack you block buys you minutes, sometimes hours of precious warmth. Here's the trick most people never consider. You're going to create a shelter inside your shelter. A smaller heat trap nested inside the sealed room. Why? Because at 20 degrees Celsius, even a small room can be too large for your body heat to warm efficiently. So, you shrink your survival zone even further. Think like someone stranded in the Arctic. What would they do? They'd build a snow cave, a tiny enclosed bubble that traps every degree of heat. You're going to recreate that idea indoors. If you have a small tent, perfect. Pop it opens in the room and throw blankets over it to thicken the insulation. If you don't have a tent, build a blanket fort around a table or between furniture. Drape heavy blankets or quilts to form walls. The smaller the space, the more your body heat stays in the bubble. You are literally carving out a warm pocket of air in a hostile environment. Inside this inner shelter, you're not aiming for comfort. You're aiming for survival temperatures. At 20 degrees Celsius, even a 5 degrees Celsius difference means everything. A few degrees can be the difference between shivering uncomfortably and slipping into hypothermia. But there's a silent enemy most people forget about: the floor. Cold floors drain heat through conduction, the direct transfer of temperature between two surfaces. If you sit or lie on a cold floor, it pulls heat out of your body like a sponge. So you must insulate the ground under you. Pile anything you can find: blankets, pillows, winter clothing, yoga mats, cardboard, couch cushions. Build at least a few inches of insulation between your body and the floor. This is not optional. It is survival physics. If the floor is freezing, you will freeze with it. Once the shelter is built and the floor insulated, you move to the next priority: your body. In a heatless shelter, your body becomes the heater. And like any heater, it needs proper insulation. Layering is not fashion. Layering is science. Thin, breathable layers trap warm air around your skin. Outer layers trap that heats even further. Start with a dry base layer, thermal underwear, leggings, long sleeves. Then add a middle layer, fleece, wool, hoodies, sweaters. Finally, pile on outer layers, jackets, coats, blankets, sleeping bags. Your head is a major escape point for heat, so wearing a hat is non-negotiable. Gloves are non-negotiable. Dry socks, 2 pairs if possible, are non-negotiable. Wool is your best friend. Cotton is a death sentence if it gets damp, and it will get damp from sweat if you overdress too soon, so pace yourself. In extreme cold, you're not just wearing clothes, you are building a portable habitat around your body. Now here's a surprising truth. Your most powerful survival tool at 20 degrees Celsius is not fire, it's other human beings. Body heat, huddling works. It's not just something people do in movies. It works because human bodies radiate heat constantly. The more bodies in a small space, the more heat is generated. Families, couples, roommates, even pets, the more of you in that micro-shelter, the warmer it becomes. The single warmest place in a heatless shelter is inside a sleeping bag shared with another living body. The science is simple. Humans are walking, breathing heat generators. Use every bit of that heat. Now let's talk about heatless warming techniques. The small tricks that can make your shelter several degrees warmer without electricity. One of the best tools is the hot water bottle. If you can safely heat water outdoors, or with an indoor safe stove, fill thick bottles or containers, wrap them in towels, and place them under your blankets. Hot water radiates heat for hours. It's one of the most ancient survival methods for a reason. Candles work, but only in strict moderation. A few candles in a tiny insulated space can raise the temperature by a couple of degrees. But they are also fire hazards, and fire during a blackout is the single worst disaster you can add to your list of problems. Use safe holders, metal bases, and never leave them unattended. Flames must be your servants, not your enemies. Another trick, hang extra blankets along the walls inside your room. Walls become icy at 20 degrees Celsius and radiate cold inward. Hanging thick layers softens the effect and creates an insulating air pocket, slowing heat loss. Remember to stay dry. Moisture is the enemy of warmth. Sweat cools your body through evaporation, so avoid heavy exertion unless necessary. If any clothing becomes damp, replace it immediately with something dry. The difference between dry and damp is the difference between stable body heat and severe hypothermia. Hydration also matters. Dehydration makes your extremities colder because your blood volume decreases, but don't drink icy water. Warm it with your breath or hands first. The night, that's the real battle. At 20 degrees Celsius, nighttime cold doesn't just feel stronger, it is stronger. Outside temperatures drop, winds intensify, surfaces lose heat rapidly, your shelter will be tested. You'll hear the cold in the walls, in the pipes, in the structure of your home. The creaking and popping noises are the building contracting violently. Your mind will interpret these sounds as danger. You'll feel the instinct to panic, to move, to open the door, to check the house. Don't. Your shelter is doing its job. Every degree you keep inside that tiny bunker is your victory against nature. In moments like these, survival is psychological. Your brain wants comfort. Your body wants warmth. But your shelter offers neither. What it offers is survival, the bitter, unglamorous kind, the kind most people never prepare for. If you built your heatless shelter correctly, your microenvironment, your insulated room, and the smaller fort inside will maintain a survivable temperature even without power. Not a warm temperature, not a comfortable one, but a survivable one. Survival is not about comfort. It's about making it through the night. And when the sun rises, or when the power grid hums back to life, you will know something that most people never learn. You will know that you beat the cold with nothing except physics, insulation, and a refusal to give up. A heatless shelter is not about building the perfect environment. It's about building a barrier between you and death. In a world where temperature alone can kill you faster than starvation, faster than dehydration, faster than fear. You responded with intelligence, not panic. You sealed the room. You built a shelter inside it. You insulated the floor. You layered your body. You used human heat wisely. You warmed water. You stayed dry. You stayed alert. And you stayed alive. This is how you survive 20 degrees Celsius inside your own home with no heat, no electricity, and no mercy from the outside world. Not with luck, not with hope, but with knowledge. Knowledge that peoples overlook. Knowledge that saves lives. Because when the world goes dark and the temperature drops low enough to freeze your breath in midair, survival isn't about gadgets or gear. It's about understanding the cold, respecting it, outsmarting it, and you just did.